December 31st,
Robbie's
2022.
Robbie's first.
Robbie's first.
Okay.
Then we'll take a little break in between it.
Okay.
Go eat, and then we'll come back.
Gotcha. Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome to the Conscious Contact Speaker Group of Alcoholics Anonymous. My name is Nick and I'm an alcoholic. And welcome to our special limited edition New Year's Eve 2022 Ring of the New Year party. Thank you so much for being here. This is a 1-hour speaker meeting that meets every Saturday evening at St. Paul's Lutheran Church, 301 North Main Street in Doylestown, Pennsylvania. The food and fellowship starts at 8 p.m. followed by our speaker at 8:30. The business meeting for this group meets every Saturday at 7 p.m. to 7:30 right here. Please come early and join us. The purpose of this group is to provide a consistent message of hope and recovery through God reliance and service to others through the practice and teaching of the 12 steps. We record all speakers so that others may benefit from the message of recovery. If you wish not to be recorded, simply ask. This is an open meeting of Alcoholics Anonymous. The group would like to welcome everyone, especially newcomers. Is there anyone new or from out of town that would like to introduce themselves with their first name? Yes.
Melissa, alcoholic.
Hi, Melissa. Welcome.
I'm Nate from Carlisle also.
Welcome, Nate.
Christina, recovered alcoholic from Long Island, New York.
All right, welcome. Yes, sir.
Welcome.
Excellent. Awesome. Yes, sir.
Joe, I'm alcoholic from New York.
Hey, Joe, welcome. And welcome to everybody. Happy New Year. The Conscious Contact Speaker Group encourages sponsorship. Would anyone with working knowledge of the 12 steps and is willing to sponsor, please raise your hands. Are there any announcements from the floor for the good of AA? Okay. Our sister group is a Big Book study meeting that meets every Saturday, Thursday at 7:30, just up the street at the Salem UCC Church. And coffee goes on at 6:15. We have meeting lists and big books on easy terms. Please see me or any home group member after the meeting. If you cannot afford a big book, the Conscious Contact Speaker Group will give you one at no charge. Anyone willing to make donations for the purchase of big books and CDs to help those that can't afford them can put donations in the jar on the table marked Big Book and CD donations. All of our CDs are available free of charge. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, the Conscious Contact Speaker Group of Doylestown, Pennsylvania, and our Facebook group. Subscribe and share. You can find our speakers there, join our Facebook page to keep informed and share upcoming events and meetings. Okay, and now with that, we have Brian to come up and read our Just for Today prayer.
Good evening again, everyone. My name is Brian, and I am an alcoholic. I'm just going to do a quick reading here from the Just for Today prayer book. This is the prayer of recovery. Just for today, I will be agreeable. I will look as well as I can. Dress becoming. Talk low. Act courteous. Criticize not one bit. Not find fault with anything, and not try to improve or regulate anybody except myself. With that, I'm going to hand it over to Michelle. She's going to come up here, read the AA preamble.
Hi everyone, I'm Michelle. I'm a grateful, recovering alcoholic.
Hi, Michelle.
The AA preamble. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength, and hope with each other that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organization, or institution. Does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. I have asked Andrew to come up and read the AA 12 Steps of Recovery.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Andrew, and I'm an alcoholic. And these are the 12 steps of recovery. Number 1, we admitted that we are powerless over alcohol, that our lives have become unmanageable. 2, came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. 3, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood Him. 4, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. 5, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of the wrongs. 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. 7, humbly ask Him to remove our shortcomings. Number 8, made a list of persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. 9, made direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when do so would injure them or others. 10, continue to take personal inventory, and when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. 11, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood Him, praying only knowledge of His will for us and the power to carry that out. 12, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, we tried to carry this message to alcoholics and to practice these principles in all of our affairs. Thank you.
Okay, we have a separate tradition which states we are fully self-supported, declining outside contributions. At this time, we would like to pass the baskets. We have no dues or fees, but we do have expenses, and this group provides many services. Your donations cover food, rent, big books, CDs, events, and workshops. And just another reminder of how much effort and time and money you put into this meeting tonight. So if you could be very generous, that'd be greatly appreciated. Another way to donate is we have our fabulous merchandise here, hoodies and T-shirts and long sleeve T-shirts. They are $22, but tonight they are free with a $22 donation. Okay, there's absolutely no smoking on church property. Please take a moment to silence all cell phones. And please try to limit movement during the meeting to avoid distractions. And now to introduce one of our speakers, a good friend of the Conscious Contact Speaker Group, Robbie W. from Jersey.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Robbie, and I am an alcoholic. Hi, everybody. Through the grace of God, the Fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous, strong home group, great sponsorship, and the fact that God loves me madly. I'm like one of His favorites, right? I've been a member of AA in good standing since October 31st of 1983. If you were cheating and smoking pot in high school, that means I got 39 years of sobriety. Woo! Let's hear it. Come on. Now listen, it's December 31st of 2022. It is New Year's Eve, and we are sober. How's everybody feeling? Fantastic. So when I get a chance to share in the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, I like to have a little give and take, okay? And so just feel free to answer if I say something, or if we do a little whatever we do. Let's just go somewhere. I love sobriety. I'm an alcoholic who is in Alcoholics Anonymous. First of all, Ron, thank you for the Conscious Contact Speakers Group. Ron D from Doylestown. Everybody knows Ron, and that's how you want to be. I tell my new guys, everybody needs to know your name in the group that you're going to. What do you mean? Raise your hand and say your name and you're an alcoholic. I got nothing to say. We know that. Don't worry about it. Raise your hand anyway and say your name, right? My name's Brian and I'm an alcoholic. Right, Brian? Just say it every meeting. Because listen, we weren't quiet in the bars, were we? Any quiet people in the bars? Stop lying. It's a truthful program. Chris, good to see you. Chris and I were here 7 years ago, man, on New Year's Eve, and we're back. God is so good, man. We're still sober, right? So I'm a guy, I was mentioning a little bit, I've been very active in Alcoholics Anonymous. Very, very, very active. I'm a past delegate in my area. In 1998 and 1999, I served on the 48th General Service Conference of Alcoholics Anonymous. I served on the Public Information Committee at the General Service Office and was involved in the 4th edition of the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And just so y'all know, if you don't know, the 5th edition is being created right now. Our General Service Office is going through all the stories and picking out the best ones in their opinion. They're going to drop a few too, so we'll create some resentments, but it's all good. And yeah, man, that's the music of Alcoholics Anonymous. One of my really good friends is Doug R. From California, and he says, when we start laughing, that's the music of Alcoholics Anonymous. I have a question. Who remembers crying out there in your drinking and drugging? Come on, it's an honest program, right? Right? Who remembers feeling down? Who remembers feeling downtrodden, right? Who remembers like not wanting to go, not even wanting to get up? And now we're sober, right, Brian? Now we're sober, we're happy, we're joyous, and we're free. And at least that's my experience. You know, I've been involved in my area. I've had an opportunity to chair our conventions, you know, and lead a team. I love it. Like I'm like a coach type guy, right, Dave? And I'm like before the meeting, I'm walking around like the quarterback. You know, before the game, I'm hitting shoulder pads and like, let's go, guys. Come on, let's go. And they're like, Rob, we don't start for 20 minutes. I was sitting next to Clancy Emerson on the stage at the Rogers Stadium in Toronto, Canada, at the International Convention in 2005, next to Clancy, right? He was the big shot. He was the big speaker. He was like Led Zeppelin. I was like Ace of Base. You know what I mean, Nick? There was nobody. I had 5 wise guys in the front row. He had like 6,800 people there. But why'd I bring that up? I brought that up because you know why? I gave a quick pitch. I gave a 20-minute pitch, right? And when I sat down next to Clancy, right, he said, Robbie. I said, yes, sir. He said, that was an enthusiastic talk. And he says, you know what that means? I'm like, no, but I'm sure you're going to tell me, right? Right, Chris? When you're around old timers, you don't have to give them permission. They'll just talk, right? So I'm sitting up there on stage next to Clancy. There's tons of people. One of my friends, one of the General Service trustees, Gary Glynn, he's actually a chairman. At the time, he was a chairman of the board of Alcoholics Anonymous. He's saying, this is what he was saying, Dave. And now, from Los Angeles, California, and the Pacific Group, I introduce to you, and he's getting ready to say, now, Clance, they're calling you up there. He says, don't worry about it, all right? He says, you know what enthusiasm means? I said, no, sir. He says, enthusiasm. Let me break it down for you, kid. Okay? Entheos. Theos is God, and en is within. You got a God within. Keep it up. I gotta go. And he went up and carried the message. And like, I don't know about any of y'all that are sitting in this group. I said y'all for you, okay? And I don't know, but I don't know about any of y'all that are sitting in this group, but sometimes when like something really big goes down in Alcoholics Anonymous, you know, right? Like when that spirit went through Bill Wilson at Charlie Towns Hospital, he knew a great spirit was flowing through him, right, Dave? And something amazing was happening. So I'm a real alcoholic. It describes me perfectly in the Big Book of Alcoholics. Now, I'm going to quote the Big Book my whole time. I just love the Big Book of. Who loves the Big Book of AA? Anybody in here? Good. If you don't, just call your sponsor when my talk's over. And and like what I love about the Big Book is it tells me the truth. Like it's like I love sports and all, and I coach a football team. And listen, they all get a playbook in May. They all get a playbook, and this is the plays where you're the running back or the wide receiver, or the quarterback, or the defensive guy. You got a playbook, right? Like this is not an electric football set where you just turn it on, and everybody goes into the wall, right? That's how listen, I'm not judging, just reporting, but sometimes that's how alcoholics act, right, Nick? Let's not drink, go to meetings, and just see what happens. I'm doing good. I'm only on my 4th divorce. Woo! No, I'm not judging. Not judging. And for me, man, I need a playbook. Page 19 says it eloquently on the right-hand side, top of the page. You know what it says? It says a much better demonstration of our AA principles lies before us in our respective homes, our occupations, and affairs. Like I heard a previous speaker say, boy, we can just, fell in the back row, we could just give an eloquent talk for however much time we have. But what are we doing when we walk out that door? You know, is our family walking on eggshells around us? Or are the employees where I work walking on eggshells around me? I'm a car dealer. Now, I know you would have never known that, right? What's so funny? And I had no choice. I didn't pick this career. I'm a 3-time convicted felon, right? And that's not funny. Only an AA, yeah! Awesome, dude, 3, all right, 3. So I'm a 3-time convicted felon. I'm new in AA. I'm working at Wawa. They didn't have Wawas. I'm working at 7-Elevens at the time, right? And my sponsor, you might know him, Dave, but my sponsor says, get a tie, because you're going on an interview. See, back then, they didn't ask you stuff like they do today. And they just told you, get in the car, step 1, right? You know, and I went on an interview at 4 years sober to a car dealership. By the way, one of my felonies is a grand theft auto, okay? I'm pretty sure that's not a good requirement of getting a job at a car dealership as a car salesman, right? Pretty sure. But you know what? God had different plans. And I just said yes to my sponsor. And I went into that dealership, right, Ron? I got a clip-on tie at the time. And I went into that 4 years sober. And I sat with this owner. Remember, we could talk about how big our problems are, right, Chris? Till the cows come home, because we're problem people. But at some point, we beg of you to talk about how big your God is. And don't be afraid of it. Because my problems were real big back then. And I sat in AA meetings and I felt horrible. I sat in AA meetings. My mom and pop, I didn't get home, Brian, until I had 6 years of sobriety. Because of some of the things that I did, right, in that when I was out there. And I sat in meetings with you guys during the holidays. And, it's Christmas Eve. I got new gifts. And I'm going home to my mom and dad and my little sister. And I sat there as an alcoholic, with nowhere to go, but I wasn't drinking. And they said, just stay, Robbie. You know, we promise if you continue to draw near to God, that He will draw near to you. Right, Chris? Don't quit. Don't quit till the miracle happens. Don't give up, no matter what. And I'm a guy I'm a suicide survivor. So I know what it's like to give up. And you people kept on holding my hand during those Our Fathers, right? And kept on, you kept on saying, you're going to make it. You're going to make it. Don't quit. I know you're not feeling that good. I know you don't have a girlfriend. I know you don't have a job that you're proud of. Don't quit. God has plans, man. You know, it says in the second step promises that God makes that possible. Just a great sentence. And He will always make things possible for us, right? If we draw near to Him and we trust Him. You know, it talks about in there being on the bridge of reason, right? Everybody understand what that bridge, I know you don't. The bridge of reason, right? But where do we got to go? We got to go to the shore of faith, Nick. We got to get to that shore of faith. And no, we're not taking a helicopter, Nick, and you can't jump out with a parachute. You got to go over the bridge. You got to do the work. Right, Ron? You got to do the work here. 163, the big book, top of the page. I know what you're saying. I want what you guys got. But do I got to, how am I going to do it? Here's what's required. 163. Patience, willingness. By the way, I'll break that word down for you. Action without reluctance. Okay, we're going to practice. I want you all to say, yeah. Hey, will you make coffee tomorrow? Yeah. Hey, we need a secretary. Who's going to raise their hand? Yeah. Okay. Doylestown's a little tough. But anyway, I get my guys used to saying yes. Yes, I'll do that. Yes, I'll do that. Willingness, patience, and here comes my curse word. I know this is tape. I'm so sorry. Labor. You have a sponsor that's not telling you to get to work? Get another sponsor. Get somebody that's so active in Alcoholics Anonymous that you don't even want to answer his call because you know he's going to ask you to do some work. Right? Nick's laughing. Yeah, I get that, cuz. Yeah, I get that. Put your tux on. Where are we going? Wawa. Whatever. And that's who I got sober with. I got sober with guys that loved me enough that got me into the work. They wouldn't accept me having untreated alcoholism. They heard my story. They knew I was estranged from my family. They knew I had been in and out of jails and prisons and rehabs and mental hospitals and soup kitchens and Salvation Armies and gospel missions. And I was wayward. I was shackled. Bill Wilson says it eloquently in his story. He says, alcohol was my master, And alcohol was my master. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. You know, I'm not supposed to be your speaker here tonight. You know, I'm supposed to be a statistic. I got, through the grace of God, God got me sober when I was 22 years old, okay? And had he not gotten me sober at 22 years old, I'd have been dead. A guy like me doesn't become an old alcoholic. I'm not a functioning alcoholic. I'm not a periodic. I'm not a sometimes, somewhere, every once in a while, in and out type guy. I'm a I drink, I die guy. That's who I am. And I'm not making any bones about that. And I'm just telling you my story. And you people in Alcoholics Anonymous saved me. Saved me. Because I came here and I saw what was on the walls. Honesty, open-mindedness, willingness. You know, I saw that. There was a plaque where I got sober in a clubhouse, and it said, "Dear God, thank you for letting me learn how to laugh again. But don't ever let me forget how I cried." I got a chance to tell my story here tonight. Ron, I don't know how long ago it was, he called me and said, "Yeah, we're running it back, dude. New Year's Eve at 22. And I just said, yes. Let's just let me get it on my calendar before I got to do something else. Like, yes. Let's just make it happen. You know, I'm from Wildwood, New Jersey. My home group is the Good Morning Avalon group. We meet 4 times a week live, 7 times a week on Zoom format, and we meet on every Sunday in the summer on the beach. And it's really cool. So if you're ever in Avalon, New Jersey in the summertime, look me up. Let's do a road trip. Hang out at my place on Saturday night. I got a couple extra rooms if you like cats. And I got Bugsy and Mugsy are my 2 cats, of course. I'm from Jersey, right? They're on parole, but it's all good. And yeah, so that's my home group. You got my sobriety date. My sponsor's a guy named Ben N. from Atlantic City, New Jersey. We do a lot of big book workshops and travel around. I just came back from Banff. Anybody know where Banff is? It's in Calgary, man. It's like, you know where Banff is. I was doing a big book workshop, man. And yeah, it was fun. That was fun, man. They're so nice in Calgary or Alberta, wherever we were, way up in the Pacific Northwest. It was cold. Dave, I went outside. It was like minus 18. And they were like, "Oh, it's nice tonight." I'm like, "Okay, great. Wow. Let's go back inside and talk about the steps." I was born and raised in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. I was born and raised, listen to this is crazy, Annette. I was born and raised to nice parents. I was born and raised to parents that hugged me and loved me and took me to and put me through 12 years of Catholic schooling. I was an altar boy. I was an altar boy. I rang the bell when the priest raised the host and the chalice, man. You know what I mean? Like, and I'll tell you how sick I was, gang. I liked the nuns. Yeah, I'm sorry. I like Sister Helen and Sister Maurice and whatever their names are. I loved them all. I got along good with them. But remember, that was 1st to 8th grade, pre-alcohol. 8th grade summer, I was with my 3 boys, Bones, Lumpy, and Killer, and I was on the way to a Yes concert, and it's the first time, I know I was going to smile at you on that one, and it was the first time I had Southern Comfort, right? I don't know about y'all, but I like Southern Comfort. We got a Southern Belle over there, right? I had Southern Comfort and nacho cheese Dorito corn chips. Hold on, real good going down, not too good coming up. So I'm listening to John Anderson, and we're doing like, "I'll be the roundabout." I made it to the end of the concert. The words will make you out and out. And at that point, I projectile vomited on this dude in front of me. Projectile vomit means puking without knowledge, okay? And I didn't know, dude. I'm drunk. I'm blitzed. We're smoking all those illegal cigarettes at the time, and I'm blitzed. And I think I'm having a great time. And I couldn't wait to do it again. You know, after I blacked out. Couldn't wait to do it again. See, my big book says this, in the doctor's opinion. You know what it says? It tells us why we drank. It doesn't say anything about our upbringing. It really doesn't. It don't say anything about our neighborhood or mom or pops or our grandmom. Or it really doesn't about how many kids are rich or poor or white or black or orange. You know what it says? We drink because we like the effect produced by alcohol. And then there's a period. no semicolon, and no. We drink. Any effect people in here? Any people drink because they like the effect? Thank you. If you're listening to the CD, most of the people got their hands up, except for the 3 Al-Anon ladies, and that's great. And here's the thing. and here's the thing. So listen, right, Chris? Let's produce that effect here now. If we're affect people, let's produce that effect over here in Alcoholics Anonymous, and that's what fires me up. I started speaking in young people's conferences, 3 decades ago, when I was young and going through the general service conference and all that stuff, and I loved it, and throwing frisbees and meeting girls and staying sober. I mean, I just had a blast, right, Nick? And then I started getting asked to go to the adult conferences. I had to calm down a little bit, and today, you can't calm me down. It's like, I gotta let this out. First step, 12 and 12. Bill Wilson says something really cool. Bill Wilson says that we gotta reach for this program of Alcoholics Anonymous with all the fervor, right, Chris, that the drowning would seize a life preserver. Fervor means enthusiasm. You still coming to a meeting late? You're still one of the first ones out of here? You're still afraid to give people your phone number or get somebody's phone number? You're still afraid to say yes to Ron to do a little bit of work or some of his little Ronnies? Huh? You afraid of all that? Then I'll tell you what. Better you than me. Better you than me. That's what the old timers told me, Chris, when I was new. Because they said, man, we get a chance to get in that boat and row. Right? We get a chance to row. You'll eventually be that guy in the back. What's he called? A coxswain or whatever the heck he's called. Make a left, make a right. But for the most part, we got to get in the boat and row. Now listen, if you're brand new in your first couple weeks, great. Sit there and shut up and you'll be okay. But at some point, man, grab an oar. Right, Ron? And let's get to work. And then all of a sudden, guess where he comes in? He comes through our work. Every single time, my experience for the last 39 years, God never came to me out in the ocean on my surfboard. Not yet. He never came to me when I was in Hawaii or when I was in Colorado Springs in the hot salt things or whatever. He's always come to me when I'm sitting across from a new guy at a clubhouse. And I'm saying on page 47, okay, young man, what's your name with the hat on backwards? Chris. I said, okay, Chris, you ready? Do you now believe that the power of greater yourself could restore your to society? And Chris says, and I'll say, congratulations. We've just taken the second step. Turn to page 63. And we go to 63. And we talk a little bit about, 62 first. We talk a little bit that he is our principal and we are his agents. Right? We talk a little bit about that. And then we go to 63. And I asked Chris to read that prayer. The third step prayer. Dear God, take away my difficulties so that victory over them may bear witness to those that I would help. Don't take away my difficulties like a speaker before said so eloquently, so I can have a great status in society and have the great bank account and a nice vehicle. By the way, some of that will happen if you stay sober, like it's happened with me. Okay. But that's just a byproduct. That just happens. Okay, if you're doing the work. And I'm not being selfish with it. And I got a brand new one of those full-size Broncos with a convertible, and newcomer's been in it to go to 5 or 6 conventions and roundups already. And God knows when he gives me a treat, I help others. What's the formula here? Trust God, clean house, and help others. How do we trust God? How do we go from that bridge of reason to that sure faith? When we're not trustworthy people. The treasurer of our home group is a bank robber. It works. I don't know how that works. I'm not making that up. It's Gangster Bob. He's been a great, that's his name. He's got a lot of sobriety and we trust him. We change here. There's transformations here in Alcoholics Anonymous. And the question is, are you all in? Because there's only 2 types of alcoholics. There's only 2 types. There's none different. It's not in the book, but I'm still going to tell you. You want to hear what they are? You're either in it or you're around it. You're either in Alcoholics Anonymous or you're around Alcoholics Anonymous. And I'll give you my argument. And here's the argument. It's a pretty good one. My sponsor, back in 1985, his name's John H. from North Wildwood, New Jersey. He's got about 10 years more than me. And he said, Robbie, I want you to stop what you're doing at any AA meeting you're at. And when somebody raises their hand, they say, I picked up. And then they'll give you a million different reasons. My girlfriend left, my cat died, my I don't know, my rent got stolen out of a car. Whatever they tell you next. I want you to listen and just stop what you're doing. And I want you to learn. But they will always say this. I was around AA for always, every single time. It hasn't changed ever. I always hear that. You know, I was in and out and I was around AA 4, but now I'm back in, and nobody will ever say this, and quote me, please. No one will ever say, I got up in the morning, I got on my knees, and I asked God to divorce me from all selfishness. I asked God to divorce me from resentments. I asked God to help me pause throughout the day. I tried to get a conscious contact with the God of my understanding. I went to a meeting, I called my sponsor, I listened to my sponsees, I made sure I made at least one meeting. At the end of the day, I got on my knees and I said, thank you, God. You will never hear after that. And then I picked up a drink. Ever. Quote me. It's been true for 39 years and 2 months tonight. Ever. Do it. And that's the secret. If we do the work, we get the results. Dr. Bob backs me up. Guess what Dr. Bob said in his last message? And I quote, Dr. Bob said, we get out of this program in direct proportion to our zeal, our enthusiasm, and our stick-to-itiveness. Good word. Huh? Do you have zeal for something? Find somebody in life that has a passion, hopefully in Alcoholics Anonymous, and hold on to them. You know, you don't got to like them. Just hold on to them, okay? And give them your number. And just say, I'm dying. I don't feel good. I don't feel good inside. I know I look good when I come here and I sound good, but I'm dying and I'm hurting and I need to talk about some stuff. Can you help me? And watch what happens. And he will change you. See, for me also, God comes through my brokenness, right? When I share in a room and I share with you folks and I let you know where I'm really at, God comes through my brokenness. Let's get back to being drunk. You ready? So I get out of high school and I got a job at a federal depository, right? And I'm drinking, I'm going to keg parties, and right across from the bank there was this savings and loan. I'm sorry, I was at the savings and loan. Right across the bank was this Froggies. It was a bar. You know what it said, Chris? It said, Froggies, leap on in. Now, I'm an alcoholic. I'm 18 years old, and that's all I saw, Nick. Leap on in. I'm like, all right, I get done at 5, right? I'm thinking, I'm all in. You sold me. And I leapt in there every night, Dave. Every night I leapt in there. And before you know it, I started giving myself gradual raises at this federal depository. That's usually got it. Thank you, Alcoholics Anonymous. I said that at an Al-Anon convention recently, and they're all up front saying, ugh, like Lurch, right, on Adam's Family. Ugh. Told you we wouldn't like him, Martha. Anyway, so I give myself gradual raise, and I'm making more money than all the other bank tellers, and I'm having fun, and I'm playing skee ball, and I'm shooting pool, and I'm drinking with all the guys, right? And I'm right in the middle, and I'm in this June. I just love this stuff. I love alcohol. I love getting drunk. I'm sorry, but it's the truth. I got to tell the truth here. I can't water it down. And I show up for work one day, and there's 2 guys from the Federal Bureau of Investigation waiting for me. And they took me out of the place in handcuffs. And I got locked up. I'm 18 years old. I got a slightly athletic build because I played sports. I got these ice blue eyes. I got this long hair. And all those things are good for girls in high school, Nick, right? Not good for big dudes in prison and that, you know? And I'm like new meat, you know, and I really am. And I got time. You know, bank larceny is a felony. And I'm not going to tell you my prison story. I can tell you one thing about it, and it's just this, that every night I did the practicing alcoholic prayer. Dear God, help me get out of this one, and I'll never do it again. Please, Father. And I meant it. Bill Wilson in our big book says alcoholics are heartbreaking riddles because we say that many times over and over to our loved ones. And we mean it most times. And I would get out and I'd run right back to the main manufacturer of my misery. Because I can't remember the day, the week, or the month before that I was drinking. I can't remember how I was feeling, at that last drunk when I'm in the little cubby hole in Philadelphia, and the police come and put me back in their paddy wagon again. And I can't remember because I got a short memory. And I'm locked up, and I'm eating cold eggs and cold coffee in the morning at the Roundhouse at 8th and Race in Philadelphia. And that's my life, and I'm okay with it. I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. Alcoholics are resilient people, right? And I'll bounce back. No matter what happened to me, I'll bounce back. I'll bounce back. I fast forward you to 2 more felonies. And my last felony, I'm doing some time for a burglary. I robbed God's church. That's who I am. I'm involved in my church now. I'm on staff. But at this point, I was robbed. I was the poor box thief. And Catholics are really nice. Like, they used to leave their churches open all the time, and I used to just collect poor boxes. That's not funny. But I did, and I got locked up for it. For burglarizing God's house. And I'm in Chester County Farms Prison in Chester County, Pennsylvania. And my jig is up. The news is out. They finally found me. I'm a renegade. I'm no good. I want to die. I always bounce back from everything I always did all my life, and I wasn't bouncing back this time, Ron. I was sitting in there. I was in my cell, and I'm flushing the toilet. I don't know why I'm looking at you when I say that, but I'm flushing my toilet all the time. I'm lighting my mattress on fire. Right, all these crazy stuff. Because you know what Bill Wilson says on page 16 of his story? He's right, Chris. He says an alcoholic in his or her cups is an unlovely creature. One poor chap committed suicide in his home. I can relate. And I hate myself. And these guards came to my cell in a rather rude way and extracted me. And it's called a cell extraction. And when they took me out of that cell, one guy on my arm, this guy on my arm, that guy on my leg, this guy on my leg, and took my clothes off, threw me in the hole, and beat me within an inch of my life. This is my story. This is where I end up at 22 years old. I'm in and out of prisons, jails, rehabs. I told you all the places I've been to. And guess what I'm ready to become, Nick? A statistic. Because even though I bounced back all my life, following a lower power one that night, because when I came to and I got a spork, some dude came to my cell and said chow, came to and gave me a tray of food, because you get room service when you're a real bad guy in jail, right? And I got that spork, and I took this left arm, and I still got the marks to prove it, and I cut this arm up and down until I couldn't go on any longer. And my goal, Brian, was to die. I know what goes through a person's mind the millisecond before they commit suicide. I am engaged to a beautiful, beautiful woman, and her father committed suicide. So she gets a little upset every time I tell this, but it is what it is, and I love her for it. She loves me, and she thinks her father speaks through me, and I love that stuff. But I took that spork, and when I came to, at 22 years old in Chester County Farms Prison, I had my arm wrapped in gauze, and I was on a gurney inside the infirmary of this prison, and I was strapped down to the bed, just like Frankenstein, right, in that movie, right? And I'm tied down to the bed, and I can't move, Dave. And a big guard came in my cell, and I whimpered, "Please don't hurt me. Please don't hurt me." And he said, "Son, I'm here to help you." And he undid my however I was tied down to that bed. He put me in a wheelchair, shackled my wrists and my ankles to this wheelchair, and rolled me into a room. You want to talk about powerless? I get it. Rolled me in a room, and a judge came on the screen, and they read everything that I did in the last week or so, and they remanded me from Chester County Farms Prison for that burglary to a place called, that now is closed, Haverford State Mental Hospital in Haverford, Pennsylvania. I don't know if I'm anywhere near there. I might be. But that's who I am. That's who this alcoholic is. That has a God, that loves God, that I get a chance to travel the world today. I've been on the job. Oh, by the way, I mentioned that job. I've been on that job for 34 years. I do the commercials. I get to train people. The owner gets me to run a couple. My favorite group that I run is called the Hardship Committee. And I get to go around to all the department heads, and I have them all go to all their people and let us know if there's any hardships within our 3 dealerships. And if there is, they give me a slip. And then I sit in his big, when he's off, I sit in his big chair. I feel like, Tony, who was that? Tony Soprano, and we get to talk, because I have somebody from each department on the Hardship Committee about, what's your name? Are we going to give Steve $800 so he can get his electric turned back on? Steve's back in parts, he's a good guy, and we talk about it. And when we agree as a committee, I get to go to our owner, who's a multi-millionaire, and I'll say, Mr. Kendall, we've come up with a decision. He says, let me see it. And in my favorite drawer, he opens up this drawer with all his checks. And he writes a check. And I get to go and see our friend that has a hardship and just do a little mob walk with him, if you know what that means. We just go take a little walk so I don't embarrass him in front of his employees. And I tell him the good news. And this is from Mr. Kendall. We appreciate all you do. And how does that happen? How do I get to do that kind of stuff today? And I get to do that kind of stuff today because God says, you're doing my work, and you keep doing my work. Right, Dave? And man, wait till you see what's in store. Yeah, okay, by a raise of hands, who watches Netflix? Just a couple. Who down? There's a reason. Thank you. Plenty is, right? This is better than Netflix, okay? Alcoholics Anonymous has better seasons than Netflix. The seasons that you're going to stay sober, forget about, it's going to blow you away. If I was around in 1935 when they were writing that big book, or 1939 or whatever it was, Chris, I would have said, no, Bill, that's not strong enough. That's not strong enough that, we're going to, we're going to be rocking into 4th dimension existence. I wanted to say, it's going to blow you away, all bold, capitalizing 8 exclamation points. They would have probably said, yeah, Rob, just lay off the caffeine, okay? So I got out of that prison, and I did what I do with untreated alcoholism. I heard about untreated alcoholism by one of the previous speakers. And I drank again. And before you know it, I was in a stolen truck, and I was in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and I did a couple robberies on the way out. And I ended up holed up in a hotel, but I was in the middle of town. This is the end of my story, October 31st of 83. And I was drunk, Ron. I was drinking from a watermelon laced with Bacardi 151 rum. All by myself. George Thorogood. I drink alone. I don't need you. I don't need no accomplices. I don't need no witnesses anymore. Why do I keep on pointing to you? We'd have probably done crimes together, bro. But anyway, but the long and short of it is, I'm locked up. I'm always locked up. And now I'm drunk. And now I'm in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And now I hate myself. And I know I'm an alcoholic. You AA people came into my prison. You told me I'm an alcoholic. You came to my mental hospital. You told me I'm an alcoholic. You told me by telling me you're alcoholism. And I related, and I knew I belonged. But I didn't know how to do it. Anybody relate to that? This can't work for me. Right, Chris? And I did that prayer. And I looked up into the heavens. It was 7 p.m. at night. And that's what time I walked in here tonight. And I said, Dear God, please help me. I conceded to my innermost self that very moment, and to my God that was listening, that I was an alcoholic. What's your name? Lou. How you doing, Lou? And I like Lou. I hang out with a lot of Lou's. And Lou, I knew I was done. I knew I was done. I was whipped. I was done. There was no more left. There was no more drinking left. There was no more drugging left. There was no more nothing left. I was done. I was done. And I asked for help, and I ended up at an AA clubhouse on an Alano club in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And those guys helped me get sober. One of the guys put me up in his place. I always spit on the microphone. I love you, brother, but I don't mean to do that. Oh, the speaker's after me. Sometimes I break podiums, but I'm being good tonight. I'm in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and I'm getting sober, and I hate myself, and I'm sleeping behind the building, and I'm going to meetings, and I'm eating onions, raw onions. I'm out of my mind, but I know I can't drink, and I know I can't smoke pot, and I know I can't do those pills, and I know I can't do that powder, and you guys are so nice. And I feel love. I know what love feels like, because I know what the hate feels like, huh? I know what it feels like to be used and to use. And this is new. I'm feeling your love. I'm feeling your love. And I want it. And I want more of it. And I stay. I don't keep coming back. I stay. I just stay. I don't leave. They can't get rid of me. And through the grace of God, he came into my life. And one of the AA members took me home, and I stayed in his basement. His name is Don Cooper. I go back to his house every year. His son just came to me and Susie's place down in Wildwood, and we took him to a Phillies game, and him and his wife and all that stuff. And God is good all the time. And all I got to do is submit to him. So I'm a year sober. I'm in Kalamazoo, Michigan. I'm milking cows. Oh, yeah. I'm milking cows. I had a good sponsor. He got me up at like 4 in the morning, Chris, to milk cows. And I'm milking cows thinking this is newcomer abuse, right? Seriously, dude, I'm from Philadelphia. You know what I mean? It's a red cap. You shouldn't be doing this, right? But I'm doing it because my sponsor said to do it, right? And so I'm milking cows, and I'm doing it. And I go to the clubhouse in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and I'm a little angry, and I bring up resentment, and I told them how resentful I am at one of these guys that told me things beyond my wildest dreams are going to happen. And they all laughed. I didn't think it was so funny, you know. But I stayed. I talked about it, and I stayed. And back then, I'm going to tell you something crazy. Back in 1984, I fell in love with this book. It was very unorthodox back then. Nobody really talked about it too much other than Joe and Charlie. But I fell in love with this big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. And I started writing it, and I started putting notes in there, and I asked to do big book meetings, and I fell in love with the book, and I fell in love with the instructions. And I started learning book in hand, armed with the facts about myself, what a real alcoholic is. And that if I don't work this program of action, and by the way, newcomers, it's a drastic program of action. It's right in the book. It's drastic. You know, if anybody says, oh yeah, do the 12 steps, you'll love it, run. Okay? If anybody says, man, let's take the 12 steps together, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be a lot of sacrifice of time and energy, and you might not understand it all. But you say yes, and I'll tell you what, man, get ready. Get ready to be rocketed. I've been like this since I've gotten sober. Maybe it's because of how bad I was. I've stayed in AA since I got sober. Right now, I mentioned the Good Morning Avalon group. I'm on our steering committee. This morning at 7:30, after the 7:30 meeting, at 8:30, I was on our steering committee meeting. We talked about a few things and blah, blah, blah. And tomorrow's our full group conscious meeting. I got to be there at 7:30. At 1:30, I'm speaking in England. Not real, Zoom. I'm speaking in England at 1:30, and at 6, I chair a big book meeting. Grab my card after the meeting if you're ready. But don't grab it if you're not serious about staying sober. But please, ask me for my business card. I won't try to sell you a car, I promise. Well, maybe. No. I have a stack of cards, and there's a reason for it. Let's become Facebook friends. I'm on Facebook, right? Let's become friends. Let's talk about your sobriety. You know, keep your sponsor. But let's become friends, right, Lou? Let's become friends, and let's do this thing. Let's do this thing. Let's walk hand in hand in the sunlight of the Spirit. I went to Philadelphia, and I turned myself to the authorities because it says in step 9, let's not talk prudence while practicing evasion. And I was. And I went to the authorities. They figured out who I was, Chris, pretty quickly with my thumb thing. And I had a year of sobriety. They weren't impressed. It was little plastic coins back then. They weren't too impressed. They gave me a year inside that same prison that I used to do time in, Holmesburg Prison on State Road in Philadelphia. But I was changed. I was now a child of God. I had now taken all 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. I can't tell you how easy that year was to do. I can't tell you, and I'm being honest. I'm telling you, he stayed with me. He stayed with me. A second step promise is you will feel the nearness of your Creator. You will feel your Creator flowing in and through you. That's a promise. That ain't like maybe, if you have a good sponsor. No. If you do the work, things like this will happen. Right, Chris? And that's beyond our wildest dreams. I don't care what you tell me. And I did my time in Philly, I did my time in prison, and I got out, and I got paroled to Wildwood, New Jersey, and I've been there ever since. I started going to meetings, and I would do rollerblades, because I never had a car, I never had a driver's license. By the way, I never got locked up for DUI, because Grand Theft Auto trumps DUI. So listen to this, I got a great story, and we'll wrap this up by 9:30. Listen to this. There's a kid coming to the clubhouse, and this is how I'm known. Nobody wants to deal with him, Ron. He's putting his fist through the walls of the clubhouse. His name's John Jay, and he's in the penitentiary right now. But regardless, I'm friends with his wife and his 2 little girls. I have a good relationship with them. But and no one would deal with John because they were all afraid of him, and I wasn't. And John couldn't read or write, still can, I don't think. And I would get back then this had to be 1986, and I would get one of those tape players, those cassette tape players, and I would read the 12 and 12 into the cassettes. And I would go, step 1, who cares to admit complete defeat? You know, the average alcoholic doesn't care for his prospect. And I would just read the whole step, and then I would go over to his house, and we would listen to it at his house. And I would say, now I want you to listen to it when I'm not here. I'll come back and tell me what you got out of it. One day I go over there, Chris, and his dad's there, and his dad's got a white shirt on. He's a captain of the North Wildwood Police Department. He's got a gun. He's got handcuffs coming out his rear end. I'm not too good with that. And his name's Ralph. And Ralph meets me at the door. He says, you Robbie? I'm not sure. I mean, I'm quick on my feet. He says, are you Robbie? And I'm like, I'm cornered. This guy's got a gun. Yes, sir. He said, come on in here. He said, sit down. John's not home yet. Martha, come in here. This is Robbie. And they told me I'm the only person in Alcoholics Anonymous that didn't kick John out. That I'm the only person in Alcoholics Anonymous that took time for their son. He talked about me all the time. I didn't know this. I didn't even have a car. I would ride over on my bike, and I'd had the thing in. We didn't have backpacks by then. I think we had fanny packs. I forget. It's horrible. I'm old. And he said, come with me. I didn't like that. And he put me in his police car and said, Chief, he took me to a police station. And he helped me get my driver's license. That's a true story. So I'm sitting minding my own business, listening to this guy named Tom Ivester at my state convention in the late 80s, and it happened to him. And I went up to Tom and I said, Tom, it happened to me too. He says, I believe you. I said, it's true. And things like this you can't make up. He got me my driver's license. I've been driving ever since. And that is the things that will happen here. If as long as we put ourselves, on the AA beam and stop, please stop. Please, please, we beg of you. We beg you to be what? Fearless and thorough from the very start. Huh? Please, do some work, do some labor. Sit up front. Everybody in the front, raise your hand. Everybody up in the front, raise your hand. All right, that's the sick people. Welcome. Everybody in the back, raise your hand. Come on, raise your hand. Ladies and gentlemen, that's the inventory row. Thank you. And I love you guys. But sit up front. Listen to this. I'm going to share this with you. If you got a ticket to your favorite concert or your favorite recording artist and you got a chance to go in, would you sit in the back? I beg to differ, you would not. You'd sit up front because you don't want to miss a thing. Steven Tyler says it. If you don't want to miss a thing, sit up front. Raise your hand. Find somebody that has stoked your heart. And don't be afraid. Confront that fear and say, Brian, thank you for what you shared tonight. Could I have your phone number? I really liked what you shared. Nick, I always wanted to get dressed up, but I don't have money for it. But I love how you ran the meeting. Could you maybe help me understand how to do that? And when you do that, it will work. It will happen because I believe he listens, and I believe there's angels up there that listen. My sobriety has been amazing. I got married when I was 13 years sober, and that marriage didn't work out. Unfortunately, my ex-wife had some, she wouldn't stop drinking and drugging. And there was a lot of abuse, and I had to get a divorce. But through the grace of God, little Allison Ann was her name. She was born when I was a delegate in 1999, May 22nd. And Allison was always by my side. I became the parent, because my ex-wife couldn't get this. And I took her everywhere with me. I took her to AA with me. She would sit on stage with me when I would go to different state conventions. And, if we would travel on planes. And, she just loved it, man. I'll never forget. I spoke at the Florida State Convention. It's a big one, right, Chris? And I spoke at the Florida State Convention. And she was with me, and she was having a blast. She was even an Alateen speaker at one point. And it's customary when a speaker is done, a lot of times at a big convention, people will, come up afterwards, hey, thanks for speaking, really appreciate your message, thanks for coming out, have a nice day, whatever, 3-4 seconds. And my daughter got used to it. She would stand next to me. And I'll never forget, she had this big grin on her face going up the elevator. I kept on looking at her, I'm like, what's up? I thought she met a boy or something. She was like 12 or 13, right? And we got up to the room and she said, Daddy. I said, what, baby? What, Allie? She said, more people hugged me than hugged you. I counted them, she said. I bring you to November 6th of 2022. And that very same girl, Allison Ann, is now 23 years old. And she was in a room with me, and I was the last one in the room with her. And all the rest of the wedding party had already gone out. And my baby's getting married. And I'm not doing good. This is the suit from the wedding. This is all from the wedding. I'm not doing good. I'm trying. And I'm the only parent there, but I'm loving her. And she looked at me and said, Dad! I said, yes, pull it together. I said, okay. And she said, pray. I said, what do you mean? She said, we always prayed before you did your talks. Now I'm getting ready to get married. Now would you please pray for me? Huh? We never knew who's watching. And I prayed, and Dave, I can't tell you what that prayer was. But I can tell you at the end of the prayer, the girl, whatever she's called, the director, the banquet thing, she opened the door up and said, it's time. And me and Allison looked at her and we said, yes, it is. And that little girl held on to my left arm. I got pictures of it on Facebook. Please become my Facebook friend, Robbie Walker I'm serious, Wildwood, New Jersey. I want to show you that this thing works. And she held onto my arm so tight until she got up to that altar. And I put her hand in my son-in-law's hand, and it was just a beautiful event. You don't want to miss this. No amount of pomp and no amount of pomp or circumstance or alcohol or drugs can replace what we feel here. I'm going to end with this. And it's a story about a gray slab of clay. Okay? And that's me when I'm doing AA, Brian. I'm a gray slab of clay. Nobody wants me. I'm not a shiny glistening pot. I'm not a teapot. I'm nothing. I'm not useful anymore. Recovered means restored to usefulness. I'm not recovered. I was recovering. I didn't know what I was going on. And I'm sitting there, and this gray slab of clay, one day, Chris, the potter man came in and picked it up and put it in the vat. He starts going around and around, and I'm the clay, right? And I start saying, that's enough, I'm good. When you're sponsoring, you're going through the steps, it's like, wow, this is a little too much, a little too heavy. Okay, I'm crying, I don't like this, you're a dude. I'm not getting on my knees for the third step, cut it out. I got issues with that, or whatever. And we're going around the vat. And the potter man says, not yet. And he takes me out, right? And he puts me in an oven. And he's 400, 500, 600. I'm like, let me out, I'm claustrophobic. And he says, not yet. And I come out and he starts painting me and putting all that stuff on me. And I said, stop. We're doing 8 and 9 and we're doing 10, 11, and 12. And we're carrying this message to rehabs and mental hospitals. And we got guys in the back. And I know they're watching me. And I can feel God saying, keep going. And I said, I can't go on any longer. Stop painting me. He said, not yet. And I pass out. And I come to, and in the reflection of the mirror is a teapot, and it's painted, and it's shiny, and it's glistening, and it's me. I stand before you tonight in a tux with suspenders and a bow tie and a hanky that match, shiny shoes, and I'm excited about that. I wouldn't dress any other way to come up here and carry the message to you. And the teapot ends up in this teapot store, right? In this little breakfast eatery with scones. And this couple, this couple comes in like you two right there, right? And they're like, oh, can we get some tea? And the teapot begins to speak. and says, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. I'd like to tell you my story. At one point, I was just a horrible piece of gray clay, and I never thought I was going to be anything else, and I hated myself. And I didn't line up to anybody that I was looking at. And one day, my potter man, my God, molded me into what I am today. And he's told me my job is now just to pour out my story to anybody that listens. And as they enjoyed this little teapot and they enjoyed the tea out of it, he said one last thing before they left. He said, my secret is I leave my top ajar so that my Heavenly Father can come in and fill me up. Ladies and gentlemen, leave your lid open. You know, sometimes we do that set aside prayer. Dear God, help me set aside all I think I know about myself, the 12 steps, Alcoholics Anonymous, and especially about you. Let me have a new experience tonight. Let me be somebody that I won't even recognize. Let me be, and I'll leave you with this, B-bar. You know what that is? Blessed beyond all recognition. I love you all. Thanks for letting me share tonight.
Thank you, Robbie. That was magnificent. Thank you so much. Yeah, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll resume here in 15 minutes. Oh, and if it's always customary to form a line, thank our speaker. They come here at their own time and expense. So if you want to do that, that'd be great. So thank you.
Thanks, Nick.